Friends, colleagues and listeners, here we are again, another podcast, and we've got an old favourite of the show with us, joining us, and that's Mervyn Walker, who's the Chief Operating Officer for Menzies Aviation. So Mervyn, lovely to have you back again, sir.
So Christopher Joseph, it's great to be here. I think if you just said it was a hat trick. This is the third time I've had the pleasure of doing this with you. So a trilogy. So good to see you.
It is indeed. It is indeed. Yep, a trilogy, a wonderful one as well, and timely as well, Mervyn, because the first one was getting to know what you were doing. The second one, obviously, we had the problems with COVID, and now here we are, coming out of it. So wonderful times. Now, rather than focus on negativity, which there's too much of it about at the moment, what's changed over that time that we've been together?
Oh, are we okay?
We're okay, mate. We're okay.
That was one of the
the benefit of being on a live show. I've got 3 granddaughters, and they're so pleased to be with me. They won't leave me have a few minutes peace.
Okay, what age are they?
Age, they're just under 4, 2, and nearly 1.
Okay, they're allowed to make some noise. That's okay.
And my God, they do.
So I think before the nice interruption, you're asking me, basically what's going on. Well, as you know, Menzies was a listed company since 1961, and on the 4th of August we were acquired by Agility. We did. It was a bit of a surprise. We didn't see it coming. It was a great idea. It was born out by Agility and NAS. So I'm not sure us and Menzies can claim any credit. We didn't quite see it coming. A surprise. But obviously then when the valuation was agreed, the management team came on board very quickly. We embraced the idea, and why wouldn't we? Because now we've got a platform of 58 countries, 254 stations, and over 35,000 staff. So basically, it's a great platform to grow from. So a great idea born out of Agility and NAS, and Menzies 2.0 goes forward. Yeah.
Exactly, and that's a great way of looking at it. Menzies 2.0. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it is, and I think well, a lot of people were probably initially surprised, but when you look at it and when you produce stats, and you did a nice little overview on LinkedIn, which showed exactly what it was. So, I mean, it's a great opportunity, Mervyn. It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. No, it's I suppose like standout items like Agility is a huge organization. They're listed in Kuwait and Dubai. They turn over 7.5 billion. So obviously, we've got a strong backer. And then they give us NAS, which was a great business. And as we speak, NAS has been integrated into Menzies. And it is like, it's not a promo, Chris, but we're going from strength to strength. We're already seeing the benefits. Like just in the last few months, we've opened in Serbia and Montenegro. We've opened in Santiago in Chile. We've opened a new office in Singapore, a regional office. We're starting business in Malaysia. We won the GH ground handling licenses for AXA in all the South African airports. We got a new concession for our cargo building in Bangalore, and we're going to build a second one. And we've got about another 5 or 6 projects basically on the starting blocks. So basically, it's gone well, Chris. And so far, so good.
Brilliant. Now, as far as you're concerned, Mervyn, because we were talking about, a little bit about your vision when you first went on board and what you were doing and advisory and having the benefit of all your experience. Where do you see the organisation now in the next couple of years? And what would the key critical actions be that you specifically will be addressing?
So for us, like COVID, you don't want to talk about depressing things, but I suppose it's the backdrop. We had 31,000 staff. Then at one stage during COVID, we got down to just over 15,000. As of today, with recovery after COVID and the benefit of NAS and Agility, we have now over 35,000 staff. So what do we want to do? No matter what airport I go to, if it's Queenstown, South Island, New Zealand, or Santiago in Chile, or I'm going to Calgary next week, anywhere I go, I say to the guys, 5 things. Every station must be safe and secure. The
Yeah.
first thing is safety and security comes first. It's paramount, number one. Then we have three interest groups, and it depends who you're talking to, which order you put them in. But you say you want to look after the staff, our biggest asset. We want to look after the customers. Obviously, no customer, no job. We want to look after the shareholders, because they need to continue to, obviously feed the shareholders, invest in the business. And the fifth thing, which is very important, we want to grow the business. So no matter where I go in the world, whatever station, 5 things: safety, security, customer service, customers, staff, shareholders, and grow the business sensibly. And that's what we're going to do. So we're going to be we're now in more countries than anybody else in this sector. So basically we want to be the world leader in this sector, and we're going to grow and grow quickly. And that's the plan.
Excellent. You've made it sound very clear and very simple, Mervyn.
I wish.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Time will tell.
yeah, as it always does. Mervyn, listen, one thing that I've always respected you and Menzies, and it's great. And some of the people that I know there, I know how how motivated they are, and also engaged in the 3 magic words: safety, safety, and safety. And we know you can never underestimate that word. Now, for you, it's a very, very special focus. Do you just want to elaborate on some of the things that you do and why you feel that you've got on top of something that's so challenging, especially in this day and age when there's so much experience has left the business? It's hard to recruit people. Competency more than ever is so important. What is it that adds that magic ingredient to Menzies?
No, for us, it is safety and security is our number one priority. And even now, when I talk to the unions, they would say to me, "Oh, come on, Mervyn, profit's your number one priority. It's not safety and security." We said, no, basically, of course, we go into this business to make some money, to make a return. Of course, we do that. But once we get into this business, we flip it over and say, but we must be safe and secure first. And actually, safety and security and profit and safety and security are actually directly linked anyway. Yeah. But the most important thing, Chris, is that we must be safe and secure. And as you say, it's been very challenging. We have a lot of new staff. We have an awful lot of new staff. A lot of experience left the business, left the sector during COVID. We had quite a few staff basically on furlough, and they have come back. And some of them might be a little bit, wouldn't mind saying, maybe a little bit ring rusty, after being on furlough. So when you put together a lot of new staff, you put together staff coming back who are a little bit ring rusty, and you put them into an environment like you remember when I met you first, when you were a boy in Lufthansa and I was a boy in Aer Lingus. We used to plan the business basically twice a year. And now we're planning the business every week, every day, nearly every hour. So we keep replanning the business. So a lot of new staff coming back, replanning the business on a regular basis. It's quite a challenging backdrop, but the key message from us throughout all of this is we take the delay, not the cat A. So for us, on-time performance, of course, is important. It's very important to our customers. And if we have, the right number of people as planned, we have the equipment as planned, everything's going on more or less to schedule, everything should be more or less on time. But of course, things go off schedule. You've got a bit of sickness. You've got issues with security queues or whatever. So things don't go according to plan. And then we say, any day, take the delay, not the cat A. We don't want to damage people and we don't want to damage planes. So we take the delay, not the cat A is our catchphrase for the last few years. And one other one, we say as well is, the traveling public, that interact with our overwing staff, the traveling public have found it more stressful. Going through airports is more difficult. Times are more stressful. And what we clearly said to our staff is another clear message. If you feel threatened in any way, if you feel at risk in any way, please just walk away immediately and call for help. So those are been our key messages. Take the delay, not the cat A. If you feel threatened or at risk, walk away. We support you, we back you, and call for help. And of course, probably another thing, Chris, at the minute, which is kind of a little bit, during COVID, after COVID, in the brave new world, tiredness, fatigue, stress. There's more of it than there was before. And we have invested in an online sort of well-being program that's online, that we offer sort of tips, guidance, support, someone at the end of the line. So we've done that as well to try and actually support, because it is a more stressful world we live in. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. It is indeed. And Mervyn, just to verify as well, are you noticing now that there are more like, safety incidents or safety issues that you guys have to be aware of more than there was before?
We measure, obviously, when we talk about Cat A's, we measure Cat A's, B's, C's, D's, E's, and we look at, we look at the number of incidents we have with people per 100 FTEs, look at the number of incidents we have per 1,000 turns, and our stats say that, we improved an awful lot during COVID, like for like, because there wasn't as much activity. It was very quiet.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have more incidents at the minute than we did in the middle of COVID, but we're still, I think, based on the pre-COVID time, the amount of incidents we measure on aircraft is a little bit better, but not a lot better than from before COVID. But actually, what we have noticed is the number of accidents we have with people is an awful lot better. So that actually has improved dramatically. So that's what we wake up to every day. That's like every review call we have every day. That's the first question we ask. So that's what we look at. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's so important, isn't it? Now, Mervyn, you mentioned there, you touched upon the fact of, passengers and the customers returning and certain stress levels and variances of service levels that they didn't have to worry about before. Now they come into play on every single trip nearly. Now, the airport as an ecosystem, so everybody that's part of that ecosystem, some would say at the moment that they've moved away from the collaboration that was being experienced during COVID and proved to be so effective. And now there's a lot of blame bingo going on as to who's responsible for what shortfall, why flights have to be cancelled, what happens if they're cancelled, where does the source of that problem rest? And then the big question is, why on earth, is everybody not sharing their data so that they can come to an acceptable level ahead of time?
I think we have often thought, and I was chatting about this with our new chairman the other day, who you'll see next week in Greece, and we talk about an aviation triangle. I think he might have called it a golden triangle. I think I called it an equilateral triangle. But the three sides: there's airports, there's airlines, and there's ground services company like ourselves. And maybe we were sort of maybe the humble side, the forgotten side for many years. But obviously, we've come to the fore, and the traveling public and the media now know all about baggage handlers and ground handlers and cargo handlers. And obviously now maybe we're more equal part of that equilateral triangle. So I think, what do we need to do is, we are critical infrastructure. We need to be recognized as critical infrastructure. And we need to be better at the cost of doing business safely, securely, correctly, and well. There is a cost to that, and we need to get better at demonstrating that cost transparently. But also, we get the benefit of working in many airports, and one size doesn't fit all. I think what we see is, without naming names, the airports for us that work best are the ones that communicate best. So where we have tripartite meetings, and we have them daily, sometimes hourly, in the peak of summer. But when we have those tripartite meetings, and the airlines, the airports, and the ground service companies get involved, and we share information about, we're short on check-in today because of a bit of a spike in COVID, or we're short on the security screening today, or some of the airlines need to consolidate and put aircraft together. But when we share that, we actually usually then do cope better, because no one likes a surprise. So when there's no surprises, we do cope better. And it's always about managing the peaks. The peak is where the stress is. So if you're communicating well and managing well, and you sometimes can, we love to smooth out peaks. If we can smooth the peaks out, then service will be better. customer perception will be better, it'll be safer, more secure, etc. So I think, it is about being recognized as critical infrastructure, and it is about, communication and the tripartite communication. Where we stay at, where it works well in some airports, and some airports it can always be better.
Yeah. That's fair dues. And also, Mervyn, your opinion on, like, community systems and, and corridors, to make everybody who's part of that ecosystem understand what's going on, sharing data and having more transparency.
Mm-hmm. No, it is like we also said, Chris, we all hate surprises. So the more we share and the more timely we share it, obviously the more timely basis we share it, obviously we can react. Now, as I said, like when you and I were kids, we used to plan for an IATA winter timetable and a summer timetable, and you just tweaked it after that. But it really is now. We actually have to. I feel I've got the greatest respect for the teams, with the planners. We actually are like in the middle of, because as you know, in COVID, in places like Australia and New Zealand, we ramped back up, but then there was an outbreak, and we came back down. So we sometimes do summer timetable, winter timetable startup. So you do a new customer startup. We were sometimes doing startups 4 or 5 times because of COVID back, COVID off. So the planning team, I've got the most huge respect for. We're planning on a continual basis. So it is, the more information we have, the more timely we have it, the more we communicate with each other, the better job we do.
Yeah. No, true enough. Now, also, Mervyn, people now, there's I don't know what it is, but there's a peculiar sort of rebalancing that's necessary, because with people working from home, with furlough, with different focus, the media hasn't helped with suggesting everybody's got anxieties and problems, etc. And so many different influences now coming into people's minds. But there's also now an almost entitlement or an expectation platform whereby people feel they've got plenty of choices if they want to move around within the business, and that they'll get an automatic, increase in salary or better benefits, etc. Now, how are you finding that, and how are you addressing how to keep your employees, especially the good ones?
Mm-hmm. So I think, answer the first part of your question. As a community, we need to, we need to be more effective. As we said, we need to be recognized as, obviously as critical infrastructure, but we need to, as you say, we need to compete with e-commerce. We need to compete with working from home. And I think, what we need to do a little bit as a community is we need to sort of have better apprenticeship programs, diploma programs, even degree programs, because, we think you can put it in a foundation for life, for a lifelong career. And we talk a lot about staff turnover. We measure it every day. It is a bit of an odd one. It's interesting. We find that if we can keep staff for about 18 months, most of them will stay with us for life. So when we talk about staff turnover, there's a bit of a churn of people who join for 3 months, 6 months, leave. But when we can get people to stay for longer, they actually stay for life. So I'm always humbled, like when I go around stations, and Menzies is 25 odd years old, but because of TUPE, like yourself, we got people from Lufthansa and Air India and Air India. Yeah. So we've got people with 40 years service. So I'm always humbled when I meet them that they've given their life, their working life to us, and they've stayed with us. And if we can get past that 18 months, but also I think, if we can put in a good bedrock, a good foundation, you've been at it all your life, I've been at it all my life. I think it's a great place to work.
Yeah.
And good people get promoted quite quickly. People go through the ranks very quickly. Someone was talking to me earlier about banks, commerce, and various other different industries. And the career path, it took longer to work your way through it. But in the sector we're in, people can get promoted very quickly. We have young people in their 20s, late 20s running stations. We have people in their late 20s, in their early 30s running regions. So it's a great place to work. and also the opportunities are limitless.
Yep.
You know, I was in Baghdad a while back, and you know, the guy said, oh, once I've been with you a year, I'd like to go work in the United States. I'd like to go work there. So we can offer opportunities in South America, North America, Australia, New Zealand, China, India, Europe, etc. And you know, hey, look at me. You remember me? I used to be a little fella who worked in a cargo reservations office in Belfast. Didn't have as much grey hair, but a little office in Belfast doing cargo reservations. And here, you know, a good while later, you know, I get the privilege of trying to manage, you know, 35,000 people in 58 countries. You know, so hey, if I can do it, anybody can do it. So I think it's a great, if we can get people to stay 18 months, but also I think it's a great place to work. But you know, we have to attract them in, yeah.
No, I agree, Mervyn, and it's getting people to fall in love with the business again, isn't it?
Yeah.
And letting them know about these opportunities. And I'm the same. I've thank God, you know, through Lufthansa and best training in the world, I think, you know, I managed to go and live and work in so many countries and see so much of the world. It's been a wonderful, wonderful experience that I never ever could have imagined when I was, you know, leaving school and things. It's amazing. But it's getting people to fall in love with it again and realize how good it is. Which brings me to another question, and one of the things that I think we have to look at moving forward is agility. And I don't mean your partners now. I'm talking about agility within people's capabilities, their minds, and also, you know, the systems that they use. And if you can get people to appreciate that they can also enhance their own mini ecosystem and value by upskilling, new skilling, and multi-skilling, you know, it changes things even more than we ever thought before.
No, I think as well, like it is, we say this every day, like our strap line is people, passion, pride since 1833. So it's all about the people. Like we often say, if you compare us to some of our competitors, the equipment's white, same brand, you know, the uniforms come from the same place. The IT looks much the same. Some of the systems are pretty similar. But what's the difference between us and maybe some of our competitors? We like to think is the people. You know, it is about the people. The people are the biggest asset, and for us, you know, it is that investment in the people, and it's how you lead them. You know, people don't leave Menzies. People leave their boss.
Yeah.
So it is about, you know, we have this another one of the mottos, you know, you treat everyone the way you want to be treated. Like that's key to us. You know, you treat everybody the way you want to be treated. And at the minute, what we do is we put all of our managers, senior people, our leaders through what we call a living leadership program, and they go through that. And then all the supervisors and leads, you know, we put them through a ready to lead program, and we put everybody through the more safety program. So for us, it is about, you know, how we treat people the way you want to be treated. Every interaction, you try and maintain and enhance their self-esteem, and looking after the people, treating them well, because no, really, you know, people don't leave Menzies as a brand. People leave me, or people leave the station manager in Los Angeles, whatever, because it's about the way we look after them and treat them. And for us, that's the key.
Yeah. No, it is, and it's so important, and it's also important for people to know that if they choose to be in that area that every company needs, which is happy to do a certain job, enjoy what they're doing, know that the job helps them do what they need to do outside, that's great. But equally, if they want to be on a succession path, there's the capability to do that as well. And that, I think, it's so important for people to know that they can do both.
No, it's been like, what a place to work. You know, when I walk through, I guess I'm one close to your heart, when I walk through London Heathrow, when I walked through Menzies London Heathrow, I counted up recently, we had something like 97 different nationalities on the books.
Yeah.
Isn't that fantastic? You know, when you go to the break room on the ramp, or, you know, you go to the break room front of house, like it's like the United Nations. You know, imagine being able to work with people from nearly 100 countries every day, all the different cultures and outlooks. And, you know, if we can sort of harness that, like we'll go places. So like, I think, you know, it's a fantastic sector. And, you know, I love going to, you know, in Sydney a while back, there was a guy from Edinburgh, we transferred him there. You know, I was in Dallas. There was a guy from Dublin. We transferred him there. You know, I was in Los Angeles. There was a guy from Oslo. We transferred there. So it is the United Nations. So it's a fantastic place to work. But say, get people to stay 18 months, and then hopefully they stay for life. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and those are great examples, Mervyn. That's what people need to hear if they want to, if they want a global career. It's it's incredible. Now, Mervyn, listen, if I was to ask you, and you look so smart there in your uniform, which I admire the fact that you put that on, especially today. So fair play to you. If I was to ask you now, and this is just hypothetical, if you had the power now to change three fundamental things in the business over the next 5 years, what would those three things be?
So obviously you'd expect me to say this. The three things would be, I would want us to be safer still, even more safe.
Yeah.
So like for me, that when I looked at any aircraft damage or people damage, that it was a lot, it was always going down and down and down. So that would be the first thing I'd always address. The second thing would be staff turnover. You know, we've talked about getting people to stay 18 months, but we still in places have a churn getting people to stay. So I'd like to reduce staff turnover. I'd like to reduce, and in some markets we have no staff turnover, but in some places like the Americas, you know, especially in the Americas, and some places in Europe, you know, the staff turnover, like all sectors, it's higher than we'd like it to be. So reducing staff turnover, and to grow the business, and to have more airports. So for me, the three, if you come back and ask me in a few years' time, you know, did it go well? Did it go badly? You know, I think those would be the three things. You know, the safety record is better still. The staff turnover has been reduced, and we're in 350 stations instead of 254. That's probably what success feels like.
Well, if anybody can do it, Mervyn, I'm pretty sure you and the rest of the Menzies team can do it. And I've got another question for you. IT systems, okay? So lots of people are talking about IT systems at the moment, and there's such a choice out there. And whether or not the systems have actually focused on what people think the business needs, rather than what the end user actually says is needed. And sometimes there's a little bit too much forward thinking rather than getting today's challenges right. Now, as far as APIs and links to off-the-shelf modules and benefits, what are your thoughts as far as that's concerned?
We've got, I suppose, potentially which sector you're in. You'll know the cargo one very well, and obviously we'll have an inventory control system and cargo, a base one, and we use, as you know, we use Hermes and Calais and Wipro and iCargo. In the fueling, you know, we have a couple of systems we use as well. But for us, you know, we build our business on a number of key systems. So, you know, all of our TNA is done through, and you buy it off the shelf. All our TNA, all the people, is done through Kronos Dimensions. Yeah. So that's, other companies have that too. So your TNA, looking after your people, is done through Kronos Dimensions. You know, before they get the Kronos Dimensions, we have off-the-shelf HRIS systems that help us obviously recruit and induct and bring people on board. We have our base system is something called RSMS, and what that does is that actually, and there's something linked to it called Mars, which is that badge, and that's our planning system which sits on top of RSMS, and that allows us to obviously plan the business, plan the schedules. It allows us to bill, obviously, thankfully, for the job, and then that links to the Sun accounting system. So those are the key systems. So some are bought. So the finance systems are basically bought in. The Kronos Dimensions is brought in. The RSMS is developed in-house. The cargo systems, you know, are bought in. And the one we're working on now is, you know, it's all about communication, isn't it? And we want to communicate with 35,000 people. Yeah. So we're about to launch an app which goes on your phone, which we can talk to everyone, and that's being developed in-house as well. So we have a bit of a mixture, and we try, you know, there's no point making it if you can buy it off the shelf. But
exactly.
So we do a bit. We do a bit of both. But the key system we use operationally is one which has been developed. It's been developed over 20 years in-house. It's hosted by a bunch of professionals in the Czech Republic, and they manage it very well.
Brilliant, brilliant. Yeah, no, that's what it's all about. Now, Mervyn, one thing that's been synonymous with the podcast sessions we've had with you is there's always been a nice personal story. One of my favourites was the dog and the dog's name. Oh, have you got anything that you can share with us now this time?
I thought you were going to ask me that one. So, yeah, I thought you were going to ask me that one. So you'll recognize this. I spent 3 weeks out of 4 visiting stations.
Yeah.
So when I go to a station, there's something sort of, if the housekeeping is good, the station will be pretty good as well.
Yeah.
If the housekeeping is poor, then on-time performance, service delivery, safety is usually poor as well. So there's a direct relationship. So what I found out recently was what people say about me behind my back, which is funny. And they said, Mervyn's coming next week, or Mervyn's coming to town. Don't forget TFM. Don't forget TFM. I was thinking, TFM, I don't know. I said,
toilets.
Toilets, fridge, and microwave. So I realize I'm doing it. I don't realize I'm doing it. But every station I go to, not because I want to have an ablution, but I go to the bathroom and I'll have a look in the basin. I'll look down the toilet. I'll look around. So, okay. Then I'll go to the fridges. I'll stick my head in the fridge. And I said, okay. And then I'll go to the microwave. I won't put my head in the microwave, but I'll make sure the microwave is clean. Because, I believe that, if we look after the toilets, the fridge, and the microwave, those basic things, then the rest of the station is usually okay. And it always works that way, because if the toilets and the fridge and the microwave are clean, when I go to the warehouse, there won't be lots of crap under the pallet handling system.
Yeah.
Crap in the corner. And basically the GSA will be clean and the maintenance records will be up to date. So I'm not sure if that's a really funny one, but I've sort of found out recently, people behind my back say, your man's coming next week. Don't forget TFM. Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's amazing how things have changed. In our original day, that would have been a transfer manifest.
It probably still is, but the transfer manifests are now automated.
Yeah. No, Mervyn, listen, it's always a pleasure, and it's always nice to see, good success stories and and good quality companies like Menzies, doing so well. So thank you very much for sharing a few thoughts with us.
Okay.
Look forward to seeing you again soon. Shame we won't see you in Athens, but I'm sure we'll see you. Maybe the World Cargo Symposium. You're going to be there.
Yeah, no, I'll see you in London one day soon as well. I promise at the date in London. I'll see you in London one day soon, and we'll have a few pints of Guinness.
Look forward to it. Seriously, okay. Mervyn, thank you so much, my friend. All the best.
Okay, thanks, Chris. See you soon. Cheers.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Thank you.